The Land of 10,000 Dragons, Book 1, Never Trust the Snake, Chapter 1. Eshuza slithered down the long, watery tunnel. His tail pushed the water from side to side. His red, nocturnal eyes spotted droplets of water falling from the ceiling. His tongue flicked out of his mouth. Eshuza, Sheju hissed, "Why do we keep coming down here? It never changes no matter what time of day it is." Sheju was Eshuza's best and closest childhood friend. The two had grown up with one another, practically as brothers. Sheju was partly red and blue with a white underbelly. His eyes were red just like Eshuza's. However, Eshuza was completely black but also had the same color underbelly. On top of that, they were both the same length, stretching to 30 feet. "You know exactly why. Don't act like I haven't told you before," Eshuza replied. He made sure to keep a tight grip on his two-handed mace. If Sheju could have, he would have rolled his eyes. This is getting pointless. Just challenge him already. Eshuza shook his hood. The edges of it brushed up against the tunnel's rocky wall. "He's 400 years older than me. Do you think I can beat him? If I lose, he will execute me. All this planning would be for nothing." "We are having a slither pit soon," Sheju said, keeping pace with his friend. "You could challenge him then, since everyone will be there. I just hope your mother won't be upset." Eshuza slapped the rock wall with his tail. He knew, just as well as his friend, that his mother would throttle his tail if she found out he was planning on becoming king. "She treats me like a newborn Naga," Eshuza said with disgust. "It isn't right. I'm over 50 years old." "And she's 300 years old," Sheju quickly retorted. True, Eshuza's mother was 300 years old, but did that really give her the right to make Eshuza look like a newborn snake? To Eshuza, she was making a mockery of him and his deceased father. It angered him greatly that she would never ever do that. However, it was also the exact reason why she did it. His father was gone. He had to grow up early and become the Naga of their household. Before he could think anymore, his entire body slammed into a doorway. He woke himself up and ran his hands along the stone. "Behind here," he muttered, "is the savior of our world. Our great god Tassaras sailed away all those decades ago," Sheju added. The two stared at the doorway. They splashed it with some water, trying to clean the dust off of it. "I wish he would just come out and destroy the Dwarven Kingdom," Eshuza said, still staring in awe. The door was round, the perfect size for a large snake that still slithered on its stomach. Just as the Nagas were sealed away deep underground under the dwarves those 6 decades ago, so too was their great god that had protected them. Some say Tassaras was actually dead, stating he died while holding back the dwarves and humans. However, Eshuza held on to his fierce allegiance to no one but Tassaras. He once stated that, if Tassaras was actually dead, then who was behind the second sealed doorway? His argument toward their king, Istra, was not only offensive but almost cost him his head. Eshuza hated Istra, openly calling him weak and incompetent. Eshuza also argued that they wouldn't have been locked away all those decades ago if Istra had actually led a viable defense of their kingdom. And yet, as Eshuza dragged his hand along the round doorway, his eyes and hood flared open. He wanted revenge, and he was going to get it. Opening the sealed doorway and awakening their old god was the only way. "Eshuza," Sheju abruptly said, "Look, guards are approaching." Eshuza turned and spotted the firelight from the dwarven lamps. "If they spot us, we kill them. This is where we begin our resistance." Sheju's eyes widened. "Are you crazy? The dwarves will declare war on us if we kill even one person, let alone 2 guards. "Good," was all that Eshuza replied with. The 2 guards turned the corner and immediately spotted them. They gripped the swords on their belts and braced their shields. "You aren't allowed here," one of them said with disdain. "We made that clear to your kind a long time ago. Now get out or we will use force." Eshuza's tongue flicked out of his mouth, and he started slowly to slither forward. He kept a tight hold on his mace. He made a quick glance at Sheju. "Make sure to send a letter back to your king," Eshuza said, "that we will no longer be controlled by petty dwarves that are a quarter of our size." All of a sudden, Sheju appeared from behind the guards and wrapped one of them in his tail, tightening it as quickly as he could. Eshuza spit venom in the eyes of the other guard and smashed his head like a watermelon with his mace, splattering blood and bits of his brain over the tunnel wall. Sheju squeezed the other guard to death. He dropped the body onto the ground once it went limp. The two stared at one another waiting for someone to speak. Is this what you want to live under? Ashtuja asked as his hood flared for the second time. Corruption, greed, slavery? I am not slithering for it. From this day forward we are at war with the dwarves. Seju sighed. I guess challenging the king will come sooner than expected. I will be at your side, your majesty.